Hey kids, it's Mrs. Chandler here, and I'm going to read to you a book today called The Crayon Man, and it's the true story of the invention of Crayola crayons. And this is a really cool story for the month of January because it's a really good story about the amazing things that can happen when you have some determination. Determination is our character word for the month of January, so it's very fitting. All right. Once there was a man who saw color everywhere. He noticed the yellow-orange petals of the black-eyed Susans in his garden. He marveled at the rich scarlet-red tones of the cardinal's feathers. He admired the deep blue greens of the waves and the sea. Color made him really, really happy. But all day long at work, all he saw was black. Black dust, black tar, black smoke, black dye, black shoe polish. He worked for a company that sold carbon black, which was a type of pigment or something that had color in it that was made from the soot, so made from like the leftover residue from when you burn oil or gas. And people used to use that to make ink for books and things like that. Um, and um, and they used to use it for shoe polish and things like that as well. And they added it to the rubber in tires to make tires last longer. So he worked in that place that made all that. His name was Edwin Binney, and he was an inventor. He worked with his cousin, C. Harold Smith, and together they were Binney and Smith. Harold was a great salesman. He loved to travel the world. Edwin was curious. He had a knack for listening and making what people needed. Sounds like he was really innovative. Oh. Edwin invented a new kind of inexpensive slate pencil that wrote very smoothly. It was gray. Children loved it. And he invented a kind of chalk that wasn't dusty and it didn't crumble into pieces. It was white, and teachers loved it. Then he invented a wax crayon that would write on wood and paper. It was really, really black. People loved it. Like he used wax and that pigment that they used for all those other things and used it to make the first crayon. The first crayon was black. So when everyone, including Edwin's wife Alice, told him that children needed better, cheaper crayons, he listened. They said, "The crayons we have are big, and dull, and clumsy. The lumps of colored clay only make fat, clunky lines, and the artist crayons from Europe are far too expensive. They crumble and they break easily. Some are even poisonous and dangerous." His wife was a school teacher, so she knew what kids needed. It was her idea. Edwin thought about his company's inventions. When you drew a picture with their gray slate pencil, it rubbed off at the drop of a hat. When you drew a picture with their white chalk, it smudged everywhere. If you drew a picture with Edwin's new, really black crayon, it was, well, really black, really bold. None of these inventions were very good for drawing in color. Hmm. So Edwin listened and Edwin invented. In a small stone mill in Pennsylvania in a top secret lab, Edwin's team experimented. How could they make better, stronger crayons? Maybe melted wax? Perhaps. Now for the crayon colors. Grinding, grinding up rocks and minerals into fine powders. Mixing and mixing. Slate for gray, earth for yellow, red and brown. Perhaps. Oh, yes, and lapis for blue, pounding and shifting and hitting the colored powders. Would they be bright enough? Edwin's team kept on trying. They kept on experimenting. Ground up rocks and minerals made great pigments for crayons. They came home covered in colors. They're all super colorful. They experimented some more and discovered a pinch of this pigment and a sploosh of that one. A little hotter, a little cooler, and voila! Lots of different shades. Now there were greens and oranges and violets and pinks too. Edwin came home covered in color. In a large tub at the mill, Edwin's team measured out the ingredients: melted wax, clay to thicken, something for texture, colored powders, everything in just the right amount every time to make a top secret formula. Slowly, carefully stirring by hand, they poured the special formula into thin crayon-shaped molds, smaller than any inventor's, but just the right size for kids' hands. The mixture cooled and hardened, and Edwin waited, and he watched, and he waited. Finally, one summer evening in June 1903, so very, very long time ago, Edwin came home covered in color and announced that he had invented a new kind of colored crayon. But what should he call it? Alice had an idea. She said, let's mix the French word cray for a stick of chalk, and the word "ola" for the word oleagineux, meaning oily like the oily texture of crayon wax, to invent a new word, Crayola. Crayola. Wow! Benny and Smith shipped out the first Crayola crayon boxes. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, brown, black. 8 colored crayons for only 1 nickel. Edwin waited. Would the kids like them? The kids loved them. Now they could draw a tiny green caterpillar or the big blue sky. Their drawings wouldn't smudge and they wouldn't rub out. They were bright and they could last a long, long time. Excitement over the new colorful creation spread like wildfire. Admirers from far and wide flocked to marvel at Benny and Smith's inventions at the St. Louis World's Fair. The company's dustless chalk even won a gold medal. Proudly, Edwin and Harold showed it off, especially on their new Crayola crayon boxes. Every day, Edwin brought colorful bouquets from his garden to inspire the Crayola team. They made crayons in even more different shades and later asked children to help name some of them. So when I was younger, for the 90th anniversary of Crayola, so in 1993, Crayola had a color naming competition, and a 6-year-old won by naming one of the blue colors tropical rainforest, or it was like a blue teal. And then other color names created by children included robin's egg blue, tickle me pink, and macaroni and cheese. Aren't those fun names for crayons? At last, because of Edwin Binney, the man who saw color everywhere, who had a knack for listening and that making what people needed, children all around the world could reach for just the right shade. So it took a lot of determination for him to make that happen, right? He didn't just give up when things got hard or when he couldn't solve a problem. He was worked hard to solve it. All right. Thank you, boys and girls. And this is a book you can check out from the library anytime. It's called The Crayon Man. Thanks.